Welcome to the Mental Craftsman, where we build stronger minds and share the lessons we've learned through what we've lived.
I was on the phone there with Brian. I was telling him that I got up this morning around 5. And, I was just taking time, drinking some coffee, enjoying my dog Echo. Oh, I need to bring in, maybe next week I can bring Echo in here. And he would just stay under my desk when I work over there, which is good. He just likes to, Echo is my dog and he's a Shih Tzu, and his hobbies are eating, sleeping, chasing toys, and he has like this basket of toys, all kinds of squeaky toys. Now he's over 10 years old, and I mean, this dude has pickles that make noises, little lambs that make noises, that we get at Walmart and different things, and he's really happy. And speaking of dogs, something interesting for anybody that's a pet owner is sometimes when you're not feeling so well, think about how your dogs think of you. You are their life, and it's a good way sometimes to look at yourself. Who do we have as a guest star who's in here? Special guest star. Echo can be, Alicia, a special guest star, and he is only knows happiness. You only know what you're thinking about, at any given time. And you can look forward to a lot of things this year in life, because there's things that you have to look forward to, and breaking through fear and doom and things that we think about in life where we feel that we have to, where we feel like we have to deal with something. And we want to look at a perspective on things in life when we have a responsibility that sometimes that gives us a little anxiety, so we want to do, look toward the end of it, just the end result. Like, gosh, I'm so glad that's done. Find what's good and what you complain about. There has to be some type of good. That's catharsis. We've talked about that. So we can't go back in life and fix anything, but what we can do is we can change our perspective on it. There's some things where there's people that believe that nothing in life is accidental, that everything that we do and that we go through is part of this process and system to bring us on to the next realm of life. And we can't have fear and resistance toward what's to come. We can't resist things. We can't have fear of things. We have to realize that that at the end of the day, life is good, and life is really good. And we want to tell ourselves that. Remember, when you wake up in the morning, what do you have to look forward to? I got to look forward to this. Seeing names on here that pop up that I see, and a lot of you know who you are, that are here to support, to hear what I have to say. And I'm not right about everything. I don't have a perfect life. As a matter of fact, I'm full of flaws, but that's what I work on. I work on things that make me better. And today we're going to talk about boundaries and environments that we're into. We're obviously on week 9, and it's all about protecting our purpose and what our purpose is in life and how we feel about ourselves. And it's a great topic, right? And to get anywhere where we want to go, and then changes that we have, the number one thing that we want to focus on is the clarity of a goal we have. The one change that we want to make about ourselves or our thoughts, we have to have clarity. It's something that we write down. I wish I didn't do blank so much. And that's clarity. What environments are you in? What people are you around? And what boundaries can escape that? Or if it's something that you want to do more. I have a goal, for example, where I would like to go back into church more. If that, then clarity and of why, you write that down. That'll introduce you to new environments, new people, etc. And you can totally manage your life through your mindset. This is science. I don't make this stuff up. I don't just come on here and just say, hey, if you change your mind about some things in a good way. Now, when you do that and you start wanting to advance your life and have boundaries, and especially as you get older. As I get older, I want more tranquility and peace in my life. And I have lost friendships, maybe clubs that I've gone to, this and that. These are things that might have brought some noise to my life. We want to not have too much noise in our life. We want to concentrate on finishing our journey out in peace and around people that don't rob you of your energy, that don't rob you of your time. The people who interrupt and it takes over your mindset and your thought. Even daydreaming and fantasizing, there's times for that when you want to meditate or this or that. So when we're focusing on a task, we have clarity when we're going to put time, effort, and focus into it. So what brought us to week 9? We all know. We're gonna start protecting our purpose from distractions and from pressure. I can't do this. This is going to be too much pressure. I don't know if I have the capability to do this. I might not have the patience to do this. These are all things that we're telling ourselves, and those are fears. And as we get into next week, we're going to be talking about mindset, fear, and resistance to what we're talking about today. Because the boundaries that need to be put into place in our life, sometimes they're scary. They might involve people we're related to. They might involve clubs. They might involve workspace. They might involve people we work with. They might involve groups that we know. They might involve things that we've been invited to that we've always showed up. And we somehow tolerate and put up with things from these people because that's a habit. It's a habit for us to people please, or it's a habit to just be there and do things that we don't really get anything out of other than anxiety. And next week, Alicia, it's powerful. And it's all about dealing with inner battles that stop our intentional living. And these inner battles, they come from fear, resistance, and most of all, mindset. And that's what we're going to. So we've been talking about the last 8 weeks prior to this week on our 12-week. We've been talking about living intentionally. And we can't live intentional without realizing that we're on autopilot sometimes. We're on autopilot where just things are happening to us. Life is living us and we're not living life. And we feel that we have control sometimes on certain things. Like I have a job. I pay my bills. I have a dog. I go for a walk. I'm in relationships. I have kids. I stay engaged. But is it really just on autopilot? Are these things that we're doing because we think this is what we're doing? Are we molding through other pressures of society? Is there too much noise? Are we spending too much screen time? What is it that we're doing? So I had the 5, 6 basic things that we were going to talk about last week. On Tuesday of this week. Tuesday, I think I was on autopilot, just feeding out some information. Work's been busy. Little bit update of what's going on. We're building our new office and warehouse. I get to see it for the first time today, and I've seen it before, but for the build out, because my son has redesigned the offices and he's had some crews over there that have demoed it out. Brian, I can't wait till you're here next week. So they demoed it out. We have a new little conference room and a couple of different things, which is exciting. And we have an open house for us. So let's break some of our right here in life. We're excited about a lot of things. And sometimes when we're excited about things, that one problem we have comes into our life or into our mind. We think of that one problem like, oh yeah, I got to deal with this. For me, one time, I had a small little lawsuit going on in life, and it just dragged me down for the whole year. And I realized, and we ended up, it turned into nothing. The reason why I say that, because a lot of the things that we worry about do turn into a little bit of nothing. But what they do worse is they take away our clarity and what our life is about. We want to beat ourselves up because it might be a habit that we always had. Everything would be, thank you so much, Alicia. Everything would be so much better if I didn't have this one problem in my life. And that's where we blame and we try to justify that I'm tripped up because of this. Now, let's talk about this. I'm going to make an assumption that I believe is true for everybody. For every one thing that we're worried about, I bet you we have 10 things that we could be grateful for that we don't know is there. Let's take a little example. It's the middle of July, and we're record heat. And it is just so hot outside you can fry an egg on the road. And your air conditioner grows up. Now, I grew up without air conditioning, but this is for those that are in comfort. And your air conditioner goes out, or vice versa, your heat goes out in the winter. And then all of a sudden you realize that you had that every day. And now that it's gone, because we don't think about that, that's where gratitude is rooted into our minds, and we just forget about it. Now all of a sudden the HVAC contractor becomes your best friend because they're going to come and fix it. God, my heat's back on. But or my the cooling's back on. But let's talk about the night where you're uncomfortable because you don't have the heat or the air, or that day your kids are there. Maybe you have an elderly living at your house, right? So these are things that are just in our lives automatically. We just expect them to be there when we get home. We expect the bus to show up. We expect the grocery store to have our favorite snack. We expect a lot of things in life. But when they're gone, we immediately realize, wow, I don't have this. You know, when you're grateful, you can be grateful for the comfort you have, for the bed that you have, for the friends that you have, and for the things that are going right, that are always there, that are your anchors in life. But even those can go away. People pass, things happen, stuff gets torn down, stores close, all kinds of different things. So being grateful. Now, when you don't have that heat or that air conditioner, now it's a problem. Yeah, we do. We become so entitled. So gratitude totally is the antidote. And you know, realizing how good we're having, realizing that now life is better because of social media. And some people look at social media as a bad thing, but it's all about how do you use it. How do you use it? And you want to use it to where it's going to benefit your mind, your behaviors, maybe for recipes, and there's good things. And then we have an algorithm that takes over and of what you're looking at it. If you're looking at doom and gloom, if you're looking at horror things, if you're looking at bad things, and some of us like that, and that's all right. But the thing is, we can't allow this to take over the task of overbearing our clarity in life. Remember? So we're talking about living an intentional life and having clarity. That's the first thing. A goal, writing it down and making a plan. That's clarity. That is clarity. When you're looking at a recipe and that recipe has ingredients and measurements and so on, you're reading it. Somebody wrote that down. And that's what journaling's about in life. When I come across something that upset me, let's find that's not what's triggering me. It's something that's within me that's being triggered. I'm the one that's triggering. I'm the one that's upset. And I've I've now found someone I can blame that on. It's this person's fault for doing that. I'm upset because he's the one that cut me in line, or I'm upset because they jumped over my fence. But what are we really upset about? Sometimes we're upset because there's too much autopilot in our life. We're tolerating too many things that really deep down we wouldn't tolerate. And that is a good start of today because it's more of a strategy. Magnolia, I love that. It is a strategy than a goal. And, you know, when people come in here and they leave comments like that, we're all learning from one another. And that's to look at it as it is a strategy. My life's a strategy. We're going to write it down and we're going to engage with effort into our life, right? So we were talking about last week of just setting the clear goals, have designated workplaces, limit digital distraction and a lot of the noise that comes about, and practice single tasking. What do I mean by single tasking? And that's written about. There's people, hey, I can multitask. I can do that. I can text and drive and read the newspaper. Interesting to just sidetrack a little bit. When I worked in DC every single morning, I've seen everything on 395. And when I say I've seen everything on 395, from guys with their electric razor shaving, I've seen women putting on their makeup, people combing their hair, people tying their tie, all during driving. And I mean, it's kind of a stop and go type of traffic, but and I just cannot ever forget this. I came home one day and I was telling Norma, I saw the one thing I've never seen today. I was in traffic and I looked over and it was a guy who actually had a real bowl from the kitchen, not a plastic one or plastic. He had a bowl of cereal and a spoon and was driving with his knee, just eating. And I was like, man, that tops it off right there. Now I've seen everything on 395. I've watched somebody eat an actual full breakfast and drive. And back in those days, we were always, well, and even now, traffic is really hard. So let's break some of what we're talking about down into some little pieces. Let's talk about our goals, staying clear, and getting rid of some of the outside noise that takes over our mindset and takes sometimes over our purpose. So we're gonna go back to our little board here and get onto that. Hopefully you can read that. So setting some clear goals, and that means we want to have specific tasks. And we're going to break larger projects into smaller, manageable tasks and using deadlines. And when it comes to yourself, there's nothing wrong with a sense of urgency when it comes to your goals, right? And we want to have designated workplace for that. So whether you're in life or at home or what you're doing too, when I say a designated workplace, you need quiet time. You need somewhere where you can journal, somewhere where you can do some things. So that would just basically trying to find a quiet area that's specific for your work or that's specific for your studying that you're doing, and try to keep everything organized and free of clutter. When you're in a space that's free of clutter, your mind is less likely to be cluttered. If you have a desk, a home, or anything, when it's nice and tidy, everything's more accessible. And we're trying to do that with our minds too, to keep it free of clutter. So you would want to have keeping your mind free of clutter would mean to limit the digital distractions that are in our life. Turn off non-essential notifications on your phone or your computer. You can use different blockers that you have if you do your studying online, to where you don't get block up ads and things that bother you. And you can also promote your focus time by telling people, I'm not available at this time of the day. I'm not taking emails. You can have an auto reply, right? And establish a routine. Just as somebody said earlier, I think Magnolia, that it's a strategy. So we're going to have a strategy to where we're establishing a routine. And that is a strategy. Every day from 2 to 4, this is what I do. When I get up in the morning, this is what I'm going to do. And practice the single tasking. Single tasking can be one task that's part of a bigger operation, because we're going to take our big things and we're going to break them down, right? So saving over a lifetime isn't just putting this huge chunk of change today for the future. It's putting the little changes, the little differences that we're going to make in our life, making our own coffee, making our own food, being mindful of what we're spending, etc. And this also comes to your mind, because your mind is currency. It's the best currency that you have. And take your social media icons off your homepage, an extra step to access. That's a great idea right there. And I love it when people jump in. I really do. I come on here of telling things, and I get some of the best ideas from the people that follow and that come in here. So if we're focusing on one task at a time instead of multitasking, now we're taking specific time blocks for each task, and we can move one at a time on them. So it's really, really good to do that, which will take the time management and, most importantly, the rest. And I don't talk about that enough on here, about how important rest is. I was talking with Brian yesterday, and even some people that I text back and forth with, and I'm tired. And it's not that I have a lot going on. It's just that I'm that passionate about a lot of the things that I do. And I have a drive that sometimes goes beyond, this old song. Was it Jackson Brown? Running on empty, running strong, running on empty. Yeah, there's this old song, and I think about that when I get, when I'm trying to have some quiet time. And sometimes we don't get that. We have interruptions in our life. Your phone rings. You have these distractions that take you and steer you into a different direction. This course that we've had in here over all of these last couple of weeks, it's specific about your mental well-being of every chapter, every single week that we've had in here, every single week that we've had in here. We've come in an inch closer to trying to become ourselves, our authentic selves, to come off of autopilot, to come off of routine, to learn new ways with strategy on how to have a life that doesn't seem so overwhelming. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? So when we're setting our clear goals and working on things that are relevant to us, these things that are relevant to us, and when you're doing that, you're promoting self-respect. Self-respect, the one person in your life that you should respect more than anybody is yourself. And when you're respecting yourself and you're respecting your time and you're conscious of the top of your mind of where my boundaries should be, what people that I'm going to give my time to, because you don't have to give your time to anybody, and what environments you find yourself in. Do these environments, people, and the boundaries that you set, are they promoting peace, tranquility in your life? Are they bringing you happiness? Now, we don't rely on other people for happiness, but they can bring joy into your life. Happiness starts with gratitude. That's the foundation to everything. And you can't have seeds of happiness in you with weeds growing. Remember we talked about last week, if you wanted a really good garden, you would tend to your garden, and you'd have the perfect planting area, and you put your little seeds, you wait for the sun, the fertilizer, and those plants start growing. Now you have to maintain the growth by pulling weeds, cultivating the soil. That is resetting yourself. That's called reflection in life, in our mind. When we cultivate good thoughts, the weeds are going to be, you're not good enough for this. The weeds are going to be, I can't do this anymore. The weeds will be, I'm afraid to tell somebody I'm not available this weekend. Those are blocked times for ourselves. How about this Friday? Today is Friday. You're busy tonight. And you're busy tonight maybe watching a good movie and journaling. You don't even have to give excuses. You can wipe your schedule clean right now, so you can give yourself time. Time for your physical needs and your emotional needs. That comes first. And when we sort those things out and we inch by inch watch good, healthy programs, read good books, read good things that keep us on track, that's all part of a system that we're building so we can have a good life. And the impact of people and environments that aren't good for you is sometimes we find ourselves in toxic relationships, but there's nothing more toxic than your mindset. So when we're talking about the impact of it, we can discuss how certain people today, right now, are going to drain our energy. There's certain people in our lives that drain our energy. We all have someone in our life that when the phone rings, you know they're asking for a favor. You know that they need something. And we all have them. Do we answer our phone? Well, then if you don't, now you're feeling guilty. And you didn't give to their need, give in to them. And they know that. These are manipulators. And they want some of your money. They want some of your time. They're wanting some of your peace. They're wanting to take some of your tranquility away. And this is where boundaries come into play. And I'm going to tell you and share with everybody this morning, and some people know I have a family member who I said no to for the first time in 56 years. And they haven't called me for anything. And that's okay because I still love them. But, they too can get a job and work on things. Remember, what we're doing today is making our tomorrows. What we're planning this week is planning the following week. So a good life, stability, and a strong mind is daily practice. It starts now. What you're doing now is your future. What you're thinking now is what is going forward. So if you have some thoughts of doom, or you're afraid of the news, or you're afraid of anything, it's going to paralyze your growth. It's going to paralyze your growth. You're just going to stay in that rut. And that's where you are staying in. Where are we? That's where we are living by our design. When we're talking about intentionally doing things, there's some things up on this board where you're staying intentional, engaging, deliberate, calculated, conscious, on purpose, intended, living your moments and feelings, and being available for yourself. And when somebody asks you for something and you give it to them, you feel good. And that's why we do it as people pleasers, because we as people pleasers don't want other people to feel pain, because we know what pain is like. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I do nice things out of kindness. And it's not to feel good, but it's to make somebody's day better. Not the same person that's always having a bad day. I'm going to help you. You're going to get into your wallet and your time and your peace. So it's something to think about. It's a mindset. And when I said earlier today, and I know Alicia liked the sound of it, next week we're dealing with the inner battles that stop our intentional living. The inner battles that we have that might restrict a boundary. There's some people going places this Easter they just don't want to go to because it's a tradition that means something to others. Just because it's a tradition for somebody else that you have to be at Aunt Sally's this Easter, drag your kids, get everybody ready, go to her church, eat her ham and all that. It's time to make your own traditions. Yeah, exactly. Kindness doesn't always mean nice. Exactly. And we have to be careful about that. When we get into next week, and that is these underlying fears. Can you believe that we have fears of being kind and where to promote ourselves or where to promote our time and make things about us? And did you block out any time, any of you, for yourself this weekend? Today, we're talking about the boundaries and the introduction to some boundaries. And boundaries are essential for your well-being, and they're kind to people. And there was an old analogy that I use. You remember being kids, or you go to somebody's house, and the first time you go there, like, hey, could you take your shoes off? And then you walk through their house without shoes. And next time you go there, that you're going to take your shoes off. And that is them accepting you into their house, and now you're their friend. You're not going to say, I'm not taking my shoes off. I'm not walking around without my shoes. You're not going to question people's boundaries. Hey, can I talk to you about something? Not right now. You can't say, just not right now. No is a full sentence. That's so important for intentional living. Intentional living is knowing where to say no. Knowing that, is this going to take up my bandwidth? Can you do me a favor? An okay reply instead of no is, let me think about it. Let me see what else I have going on. And you can also limit it. Hey, I need your help this weekend. I maybe can give you 1 hour. I can give you 30 minutes. Hey, I can't help you this weekend. But deal with it as you're going. Protect your peace. It's all about protecting your purpose, so you can stay focused on what you're doing with your life with clarity and purpose. Boundaries belong around people and environments. And it takes pre-planning to be available for yourself. And when you're pre-planning for yourself, guess what's not included? Other people's plans. Because when you have too many of other people's plans, you are going to be living more by default, right over here. You're going to have more unintended, accidental, involuntary things to do, where you're not thinking, where it's not pre-planned. where it's unexpected, unforeseen, by chance, unconscious. And guess what? The biggest one, no time for yourself. So when we volunteer to be nice and we're into doing things where we volunteer, it's something that's going to give, where we give back by our choice. And that's a boundary. A boundary for doing favors or things for people can be a charity of your choice. And this, not following those rules, will really mess up your intentional living. To live a life by design, that's by thought. So we learned that before we get out of bed, what one thing do you have to look forward to today? Even at this moment. Maybe just this 1 hour was something that you were looking forward to today. I certainly look forward to my Tuesday and Fridays because it helps me. And then I think about this during the day. And I start thinking into next week where we're going to talk about our mindset, fear, and resistance. And I can think of times in my life where I overcame fear, where I finally worked up the courage to say something about something, or worked up the courage to quit an organization without burning a bridge, without anger, without animosity, where we kindly turn things down with kindness. So if it's something that we don't want to do anymore, is I don't have the time anymore because of other obligations. So the last part of that, you didn't have to say. You can just say, I don't have the time anymore to benefit, unfortunately. So when you're doing that, life's not living you, you're living life. I've decided I don't have the time to help you. And that is protecting your purpose. Week 9 of 12, protecting your purpose. Let's do a overview just quickly before, because I want to spend this last 30 minutes digging a little bit deeper into some boundaries and what they're about. But if you're haven't been in here, you can always hit our link tree, and all of these are recorded, and you can always at night listen to this anytime. So this was all about waking up from autopilot. That was on our, this is that was the first week of 12 weeks. And what it meant to live intentionally, and that's to live with purpose, with clarity and goals. That was week 1, okay? And on to week 2, we had identity and self-awareness of who we really are. And this is building our lives by little steps, right? Of who we are turning this entire series into a book that's available. And Brian's been a big help on that. Brian, that's awesome. And we were on week 2, we're talking about building honest self-awareness, being aware who's running your life. Is it intentional or unintentional? Is it default? Are we intentionally ignoring signs that give us an unintentional bad life? Week 3, we talked about our core values to help discover what our core values are, what's important to us. Our values, not other people's. It's built on core values with clarity of what they really are. That's what that's all about. That's what it's built on. And that was week 3. And purpose and vision was week 4. With our core values, we turned that into, now where are we going with this? Where are we going? We started to form a personal sense of life purpose, of the purpose in life. The purpose in life is for you to seek happiness, to start limiting the noise, stop listening to others, and start listening to in here. And start removing, just recultivate things. You don't have to relive your past. You don't need to go back and fix anything. But going forward, we're not going to allow those things to happen, because when things happen in our lives, we can start to see patterns. And sometimes a bad pattern that happens is the people-pleasing pattern. I don't want this to happen again, yet I'm still going to go through it and please these people because of how horrible I feel if I don't. And that's given your life direction to somebody else. That's somebody else writing your book. That's somebody else in charge of your purpose when you do that. So you see how strong this is, this 12 weeks, and how important it is. So your purpose and vision of where you're going is up to you. That's you. Week 5, we talked about crafting your personal mission statement to help you write a simple, usable mission statement. And when you write a mission statement, what you're really doing is you're dropping an anchor, and it's going to hold you there to your core values, your purpose, and it's an anchor. It can't be pushed by wind, but there's going to be resistance. It can't be taken over by a current. There's not another captain that's going to jump on the boat. Now you're going to defend it. You're going to defend it. And we're talking about that today, about defending where you're anchoring in your life. And when you're crafting your personal mission statement, this is something that I'm writing down through journaling, and I'm looking at it. Because when you write things down, that's the beginning of your plan. You got to write it down and look at it. When you're writing it down, you're putting it into the universe. You're starting, it's like pushing a little wagon. And don't worry, there's a downhill slope. You just got to push it, because things will get momentum. When you start changing your mental habits, momentum will take over. And now your autopilot will be that one grateful thing every day, what you're looking forward to the evening, and not what went wrong, but what went right. What went right? And that overtakes your mind thinking. That's where your good life starts. That's where you're crafting a life by design, because you're choosing what's going right. You're choosing what to be grateful for. You're choosing what to look forward to. And other things are going to come that aren't so great. When you have the intentional goals on week 6 is that was from purpose to practice. The purpose of my life, what I would like it to be, and how am I going to practice this? When you have goals that flow from purpose and that flow from your core, and you anchor it down, even with your sail up, you're not going anywhere. You're staying anchored. And remember, that was week 6, but on week 9 of 12, we're talking about the people and the environments to protect our purpose from the toxic mindset and from toxic people, toxic situations, noise that comes from everywhere. We're going to start protecting it, and I'm going to show you how to get your mind away from that. You're going to set your goals that flow from your purpose. And then week 7, time, energy, and attention. Whatever you're spending your time, your energy, and it's getting your attention, that's what's building your life. That is what is building your life. If you're just on social media all day, then your life's social media. If you're journaling all day, writing, coming up with good gratitude practices, then you're living a life of intention and peace, and you're controlling it. And social media is okay, but time block it. There's a certain time every day where I like to scroll. It's usually about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll scroll through some videos and scroll for some things, save things I like, look at things, see what other people are doing in their life. And when you see people with great lives, you're only capturing a moment, a screenshot of that. So you can't make it feel like, God, my life must suck because I'm not jumping off of a cliff and a paragliding with the gold rings on holding a bottle of champagne. Nobody's living that life. People are always going to promote things like that. So taking control of your day. Your life's built out of your days. Your life wasn't built from yesterday and all that. Your life, when you realize it's built out of your days, that means right now. You're building your life right now out of today. And where are you going to start? With gratitude before you get out of bed. Remember I said at your front door, you should put a stop sign, stop. And what do you want to know that day? You think about it. And you know, if you kept that stop sign there for 10 days every day and then took it down, you created a habit. You won't need it there anymore. To remind yourself that you can be grateful for where you're going that day and look forward to a good day, right? So show your calendar to yourself, and that's going to reflect your priorities. You show me your calendar and your agenda, and I'll just mirror it back, because that's your life. So your calendar and agenda has to have moments of gratitude, moments of time, blocking, goals, things written down, things that you want to do. And there's people that are successful at this, and they're successful because they're putting in the time, they're putting in the effort, and they've done it enough to start seeing the results. That's the thing. When you start doing it a lot to see results, and it's not all about motivation speeches, or putting little notes everywhere, or these little things. What it's about is consistency. And when I have time to do it, the little blocks of time, that'll crush willpower. That'll crush motivation. Consistency in your life, doing the same thing all the time, putting that sign up that says be grateful, remembering to be grateful. Maybe it's something you can think about gratitude as you brush your teeth. Apply it to something that you're already automatically doing. It will take over your mind. I promise you that. You'll start building structures that you didn't even know were in your head. You'll start thinking about things that you're grateful for that you never did. You'll, instead of hearing noise from your life, you'll hear birds chiming, the rain hitting the roof. You'll be mindful, and you'll be in the presence of your life. That's a gift that you can give yourself. The universe will give it back to you, but you have to have a garden that's free of weeds. You got to let what's good grow to the sky. You got to feel the sun on your face. You got to take care of yourself. All through on week 8, when we're talking about the habits, systems, and routines, making your intentions automatic. That's what we're talking about here. Your intentions need to be the autopilot. When your intentions are the autopilot, now you're living by the design. You have time for yourself. Now is your time, and you can start it. Translate your goals into daily and weekly habits. Remember where you're going. You know, if you're saving up for something and all of a sudden there's something better comes along, think about that. You really want to take that savings for that goal for this? And that applies to energy too. When I talk about that, when I say you're saving something up, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about attention, time, and focus, where we save up. And when you get sidetracked from that, your energy is important. How you feel about yourself is important, because as you get older, you'll need less of a lot of things, because you'll know more. And what you feel you need today, if you're younger, you will not need as you get older. You'll have more wisdom, and you're wise to what you do and you don't need. My life's changing a little bit. When we move to our new office, I'm turning my old office into just a little workout room, because I need to start working out. I need to start being healthy. And when I started to focus on that, I'll lose weight. So discover where your boundaries need to be, your people, places, and environments. So that's where we are. Week 9, week number 9, protecting our purpose, protecting our goals. Week 9, can you believe that? And I said it earlier, week 10 is your mindset, the fear, and resistance. What is holding you back from these things, protecting your purpose? What's holding you back from writing things down? What is holding you back? Good morning, Willie. Thanks for being in here. So one of the things, before we can do boundaries, people, and environments, we need to recognize the distractions and the pressures in our life. What do you think? Good morning, Indonesian. Yusuf. It's a good name. Yusuf. I worked with a Yusuf in D.C. That's a name I know. What do you think are some of your distractions and pressure? Social media, maybe? Some negative influences that are in your life? Overwhelming commitments? Do you have any commitments? Stone the Pleasant, watching from North Carolina. Welcome in. Thank you so much. So let's recognize some distractions and pressures. Write one down. There's a lot of social expectations of us, you know, to make comments or do this and that. If there's something that you're wanting to do, what's keeping you from doing that? What person, place, environment? Write that down and look at it. And how is that? That is to reckon pressures. Could be from our parents or somebody in our life that is putting pressure for you not to make changes. Nobody knows you like you. And you have to make your decisions for yourself and building your life today. And the first thing you're going to do when we're introducing the boundaries, people, and environments for you to protect your purpose, from when we wrote our mission statements, when we went over our core values, we went over everything else, not your mom and dad's or your brother or your sisters or your best friends' ideas. We're talking about your ideas. We're talking, what do you want? Not what do you have to do today? What do you want to do today? What do you have to do this weekend? Screw that. What do you want to do this weekend? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? And you're on admin leave for a couple things not right and unfair treatment. I'm sorry, Willie, but that's okay. Things happen to us, and the importance of boundaries is to protect ourselves from distractions. But before we can protect ourselves from these distractions, before we can apply boundaries in there, what we need to do is we need to recognize them. Who, what, when, and where from are these boundaries need to be applied from, and why are we putting the boundaries in there? So identify what you think your most significant distraction is and how they affect your focus on purpose. And where can we apply a boundary in there? Is it an environment? Is it a habit? Is it something that you're doing? Is it a mindset? That's what we need to do. So toxic relationships, certain people are going to drain your energy and distract you from your goals. There's people out there like that. They want to remind you of your failures and what you can't do that, or they laugh. And that's their own fears. Remember, when we're growing our garden, for our garden to really do, we need to pull weeds. And sometimes those weeds are people, places, things, relatives even. Something that used to be your friend in disguise. Somebody that really would secretly like to see you fail instead of succeed. And those are weed pulling. Your validation has to come, start looking in. Because it's not people that trigger you, it's you yourself. You need to have your reasoning work quicker than your emotions. Have your mind be reasonable and make sure that they're reasonable and all the judgments about you. And if you find that you judge people, try to look at what's good about that person. The one person that you can't stand that's in your mind, and to have that little bit of hate, jealousy, whatever, find something that you like about them. So when you do have to see them, you can focus on that. Doesn't mean you have to talk about them, right? And that has a big impact on your mind, to accept people, to accept people's perspective, to understand that you're not living their life. You don't know what their life is. You can't judge somebody. And everybody does that. They're trying to read the book by the cover. And you need to intentionally just realize that that's a person too. And it doesn't matter where they're from, who they are, what they have. What they do have is the same as you. They have opportunities in life. And we need to focus on our opportunities in life. And that's what today's world needs, is more empathy. More empathy and the understanding of different perspectives, that not everybody's going to be like you, that not everybody's doing it the right way. But it doesn't matter how they do that, because they're living their life. And you can influence them by living it the right way, by being that one person. Hey, I noticed that you are, always in a good mood, that you're always making sense. How did you do that? And you can reply, because I work on it. I put effort and focus to it. I apply all the attention that I used to put on others toward myself. And I make myself the priority. That's how I do it. That's why I'm successful at things. That's why I'm doing things. And what is success? Success is knowing that you're going to wake up and have something to look forward to, something to be grateful for, and something to love. And the number one thing you should love is yourself. Just because this happened, you don't need to fix anything. And you don't need revenge. You don't need to reply. You need to be stoic. You can make people respect you first by respecting yourself in a good, kind way. And you always don't have to have the last word. So self-assessment is the number one thing for interactive thought and writing. Interactive thought and writing is when you're taking the time to recognize where my boundaries need to be. What's holding me back? Is it a fear? I can't do this. Other people are doing it. Why can't you? I can't do this. It's too far away. I can't do this because I don't have this. I don't have that. You don't need to have any of that to become yourself. Your true authentic self is living somewhere inside you. Think of the last time that you really laughed or giggled. When's the last time you just did what you wanted to all day? And what you wanted to do, there's no judgment against that. It could just be to go for a walk in the park, have an ice cream, take it easy, and have a long nap. And it's so getting away from what do others think you have to do. What should you be doing? versus what do you want to be doing. Um, Take a day off, and you don't have to lie about anything. Just take a day off, a mental health day. Those exist. Go somewhere. Go to the city you live in as a tourist. We have a friend that says that sometimes because we live outside of DC. And she was here visiting one time. She goes, guess what I did yesterday? And we're like, what'd you do? She goes, I took work off and I just went to the city as a tourist. I went to some museums all by herself on a weekday where you have more access to things. So that is just getting your distractions out of your way. To take time for something that you have interested in. Sit down and read a good book. Listen to some good music. And the good music was all written hundreds of years ago. The really good music for meditation. But there's some good boogie woogie stuff today too. So setting these healthy boundaries it takes communication skills. That is huge. And why is that? Why do they take communication skills? Because we want to set them kindly. A boundary is something that we do because we want to have a person in our life. So a healthy boundary would be rules that we have for friendship, rules that we have at work. I saw something from somebody I follow the other day. It said something like, I'm so happy that I'm so good at my job that I now have to do everybody else's. And that's true. And you want to be happy that you're so good at your life that other people would want to ask you why your life's like that. And no matter who it is, they put in effort. And most importantly, they took risk. They took risk. And we're going to talk about next week. And it's going to be good too. And I'm going to be rested because I have plans for myself this weekend. We're going to be dealing with inner battles that stop our intentional living. We're going to be dealing with some thoughts about ourselves that just don't hold true. And I'm going to show you how they don't. We're going to deal with a couple of things that we learned through adolescence and during child development, which stumped us because we were told no. And we carried that in through our adulthood. And we're going to take the time to put effort into how to have resistance toward some thoughts that just pop into our head. So when you're on a task and you start daydreaming and thinking about other things, your focus is going to go away. You need to stay mindful and present and center in your life. When you're thinking about going somewhere, plan that all out. What's it going to be like? How's it going to be? It's going to be good. If you have something that you're afraid of, definitely do it. Face the fear. And I don't mean like skydiving or bungee jumping. I mean going outside of your routine, going after what you want, going after a goal or a dream, wearing an outfit you always wanted to wear that you say, oh, I can't wear that because I'm not skinny enough or this or that. Do what you want to do, not worrying about judgment from other people. Believe me, people that judge people, and we all do in a way, they just aren't focusing enough on themselves. Be true to your heart and true to yourself and kind to others. And allow your reasoning to run your life. Next week, we're going to be talking about addressing the self-doubt, the fear of failure, procrastination. That's what procrastination is. Procrastination is this fear of failure, this fear of I can't do that. I'll just do that tomorrow. It'll be easier. I got too much going on in my mind. Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday. These are all days, no matter what you name them. And on all of them, whether you work or not, you have more time to deal with yourself than you do with work. And yet we find ourselves being on autopilot. We're always doing this. We're the one that's watching people's kids. We're picking up the groceries. We're doing stuff. We're doing our lawn. What part of that do you want to be doing? And I want you to learn to respond with resistance and intention. With resistance and intention. Resisting what you don't want to do and start intending on what you do want to do. That's what a boundary is. What do you want to do? You know, farm girl, I used to be a procrastinator, and Alicia, I did. I would procrastinate, but if something of important that's going to be good to do, even if it's hard, I do it. If I had to get up early to do it, I'll do it. And I like to knock it out. And the more you start doing that, the easier it is. It's like I don't know what was wrong with me for 45 years. But I had a lot of fears, and I was resistant with things. And I think a lot of it has to do with some of my unbreaking. And you're right, it is certain things. It's just certain things, not everything. Just when we admit to being a procrastinator doesn't mean that we always do. And I've procrastinated for good reasons. I've not wanted to go somewhere because I wanted to finish a series or a book or do something that's more exciting to me. So, do I really want to do my laundry tonight? Hell with that. I'm going to watch Netflix. But we're talking about the procrastination of moving our life one step up. Procrastinating things that are because of past failures. There you go. Because of past failures, it creates fear, right? So, and we were talking about, remember we were talking about when we were going to the moon, how many failed rockets happened before rockets worked? How many times did the Wright brothers wreck their plane? How many times did you fall off a bike when you were learning to ride it? But for some reason, they kept trying to fly the plane and you kept trying to ride a bike. And we practice, and failure is necessary in life. That's why we don't need to go back to fix anything, because the failure in your life was necessary to bring you to where you are now. More failure is going to happen to us as we go forward in our life. So the failure, all the things that have happened, whether it's divorces, breakups, things break, kids yell, things happen, it's all necessary. It's all necessary, but we can't allow it to be noise in our head. We want to control our mental habits. And when we allow the past to be noisy, then we're not going to have a future. And our future is built by our moments in our days with clarity, with boundaries, with people and environments that we accept into our lives. That's what we want. People, places, and environments that allow us to be ourselves, and where you're going to wake up today doing what you want to do instead of what you have to do. I can honestly say I do what I want to do for a living. I do what I want to do in my free time. And one of the things I want to do is share that with you and to help you blast through some inner battles that's kept and held me back and has anchored me to low self-esteem most of my life, to a lot of self-doubt, to a lot of things. And, I wasted some time. I'm not saying I had a bad life, but I really wasted some time because I was letting too much other shit into my mind, a lot of cockadoodle bullshit that just doesn't matter. But here's what matters is how you feel about yourself today and what you're going to do with the information from this 12-week course. And I'm not here for anything. This is just, when we're dealing with inner battles and we're trying to live an intentional life and be intentional about things, and you start your day with gratitude, this leads you to places, folks. Don't get me wrong, man. It leads you to good places. A good mind has good results. A mediocre mind has mediocre results. A noisy, scattered mind has no results. So it's on you. It is all your problems, everything that we're thinking about, and you have total control over it. You can start right now today by always having a life where we're facing it. So next week's going to be good. And doesn't that sound wonderful to live like that? Well, you can live like that, and you should live like that. But we have to get out of autopilot. We have to quit doing just this automatic shit. We got to start doing things that are intentional to our well-being and are intentional to our health. Want to pay close attention to our spirituality, ourselves, and our mind in our life. No matter what you believe in something. And even if you're a non-believer, you still believe that you're a non-believer. So you can't say you don't believe in anything, because if you don't, then you're still believing in something because you're believing in nothing. But you totally want to believe in yourself. You do. And you want to take the time today to be grateful. When the day's over, think about what went right. When the day starts tomorrow, I appreciate our community so much, Alicia. You're a big part of it, and I hope you have no cockadoodle. I know. And everybody, I want you all have a good weekend. See you on Tuesday. We're going to have a good time. I'm going right into DC today. Brian, I'll call you in a couple of minutes. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I love you all.